Prime Minister Boris Johnson has warned the EU that his government will press ahead with unilateral changes to parts of the Brexit agreement if Brussels refuses to reform the Northern Ireland Protocol. The Irish Foreign Minister Simon Coveney appealed to the British government to stop ratcheting up tensions and work in partnership to resolve issues, as there would be consequences if the UK acted unilaterally. Those are the views on both sides then. Joining us now with an analysis, Catherine Barnard, Professor of EU Law at the University of Cambridge. Professor Barnard, really nice to have you with us. So I suppose from a UK and a legal perspective, the thing that is in question this week is how legal is it going to be if the UK does decide to rip up parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol unilaterally? What's your brief assessment of that?
So there are two levels to look at this. At the domestic level, if the UK government passes legislation through Parliament, an Act of Parliament, reversing aspects of the Northern Ireland Protocol, that would be lawful at a domestic level because that's what parliamentary sovereignty is about. Parliament of today can reverse a decision of Parliament of yesterday. But that doesn't remove the international responsibility. And the international responsibility is to comply with international law. And if we decide to rip up the protocol, that would be contrary to international law.
So, good morning, Catherine. What are the consequences if they do contravene against international law? Like, what will happen then, or what is the kind of normal process for that, for just breaking a treaty that was only signed in the last couple of years?
Well, that's right. So the treaty actually has provisions if that were to happen. The treaty's dispute resolution mechanism kicks in, and that starts with a political discussion, political solutions. And if that doesn't work, you end up before an arbitration panel, and that arbitration panel will rule on whether the UK is actually in breach of international law. And that could ultimately lead to sanctions against the UK, which would be tariffs, imposition of tariffs. And that's where we're hearing all the talk about a trade war. Now, please note, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen this week. All of this takes time. And I think there's an interesting point to note. If the UK does put forward legislation tomorrow, as they're talking about, this will take a long time to get through the UK Parliament. It's not a manifesto commitment, so the House of Lords, the upper chamber, does not need to approve it, and the House of Lords can delay it for up to a year. We're also hearing that even members of the Conservative Party in the Commons, that's the majority party in the Commons, they are opposed to the UK government going down this route too. So there's going to be battles in Parliament as well. Now, you might think, well, that this serves the government's interests. Well, it does, because they don't really want to have a trade war now, because the cost of living crisis is a real problem in the UK.
Catherine, this is really interesting and I guess you say, making clear that this is going to be a very long process, and we're going to be talking about this for some time. But something you mentioned at the start there was the arbitration panel will ultimately decide, what would happen if there's no political solution to the UK ripping up the Northern Ireland Protocol. Where is that arbitration panel based, and who is the authority behind that?
Yeah, it's in the treaty. It doesn't physically exist. There's no physical building. The arbitration panel has representatives of both the EU and the UK side. There's already a list of arbitrators that can be chosen from. And then they meet as and when the panel is required to meet. They've never met before, so there are some details in the treaty about the rules of procedure, but don't be confused by thinking it's like a court which has a physical building. One other interesting point, if the arbitration panel thinks a point of EU law is at stake, then the case can go off to, wait for it, the European Court of Justice. That's the court that the UK government has spent their time saying should have no longer have any jurisdiction, no longer have any say over what's going on in the UK. So there's fun and frolic ahead.
OK, well, yes, that would get politically interesting if we got to that point. As you point out, a long way to go. How unified a view is the view that you've just given us there, Catherine, about this not being legal under international law? There have been reports over the weekend that I think one of your colleagues at the University of Cambridge, Thomas D. Grant, has been giving advice to the UK government. I don't know if you can confirm that or not. And either way, are there then other legal experts who suggest that this would be legal? Because certainly the UK government believes they found some opinions that suggest that it is a legal course of action.
Well, with any point of law, there are already two sides to it. But Yes, you're right. Tom Grant has said, apparently, to the UK government that there is a way forward. I would suggest that most of British lawyers who've been talking and writing on this take the view that I've just expressed to you. But of course, the government thinks that there is a way forward. There might be a way forward under public international law, but all of this is pretty uncertain. But, of course, this is law. We're also talking politics here. And the politics, the optics of this don't look great. A UK government that wants to do trade deals across the globe is talking about reneging on one aspect of a recently entered into trade agreement. That's the one with the EU. And that's one of the reasons why some of the Conservative MPs don't want us to go down this route.